I was born and raised in Venezuela, and I studied journalism. My first job happened to be at the American Embassy in Caracas, where I noticed from her firsthand that the media was not so well prepared in terms of economics. So they asked me to organize a small seminar where we took some of the journalists. And so anyway, I just noticed that I needed more education. I needed to get my master's. I got accepted at the George Washington University. And came to do my master's in international affairs. But I was working by then. When I arrived in 1997, I had worked for the oil company, the biggest oil company. Venezuela's economy was basically oil. 70% of the economy came from oil revenues. Yeah. So that company was very important. It was very well organized. It was very good corporation. Had a lot of American influence. So once I was here, Chavez came to power in 1999.
Okay, so it's 2 years after you had left, right?
2 years after I left, yes. He said, I want Venezuela to run through the river of the happiness that the Cuban people had been.
Yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, okay, it's not good. So I decided to stay here in the U.S. And
did you have family still there at the time when you made that decision?
I did, yeah. My mother was there, still there. Once Chavez took over, it it was just a big downslide.
Growing up there, living there, and before you moved, what was it like? I mean, was it?
Venezuela was very wealthy. I mean, it was very wealthy because they had a lot of resources, not only oil, but other minerals and other gold and other resources. And people will repeat that. Oh, we're very wealthy. We're very wealthy. There's so much soil and, underneath the soil. We're wealthy. And it's true. I was, and there were mobility. Like my parents come from very humble origins, and they were able to be middle class. And we live in a very nice apartment, and I went to private schools and everything. I mean, there was a big disparity. It's true, social. There was a lot of people that were poor. They were neglected. That was true. But there was a big middle class that, there was mobility. People who were poor and could go to schools. The universities were public. You could have lunch for, very little money. Anyway, there was mobility, there was possibilities, there was money, there was industry. Once Chavez came in power, people immediately were scared that they were, their companies were be taken over, and that happened. So people left. He crippled the small industry, and the economy started collapsing. That's when a lot of exodus happened. A lot of millions left, and they're spread all over the world.
What specifically was it that drove them away?
He started, socialism is all about regulations. He started implementing a bunch of laws that were not, the small industry could not, would not tolerate, would not support.
And it was that essentially was a power move to take control.
Yes, they were taking control, and they were demanding more money for the employees, for example, higher salaries. They were demanding a bunch of other ways, healthcare, payment of healthcare, a bunch of other fees and payments that really, and then they started controlling the prices. Like, for example, if you were producing, I don't know, corn, they will control the price of corn. So you were like stuck. Okay, how am I going to pay my employees more, and I'm going to be able to sell more of the corn because there's a control over the price.
So the price wasn't driven by marketplace supply and demand. It was essentially dictated by the leadership of the Venezuela regime.
Right. It was major central planning. Chavez, being a military with a military background, he was very good at planning. So he basically started planning the economy, everything. And it cripples the freedom of people to succeed and to make money and to move and all that. Every day, I went back for a year in 2006, and I just felt that every day there was some other industry that he was controlling. Even the casinos. The casinos at some point were like, some kind of entertainment for older people. And one day he just said, yeah, no more casinos, you know, they're taking over, we're taking over.
Yeah.
So every day there was a new industry. There was a new industry that he was taking over. There was a new industry that he was regulating. So people were losing their jobs. And when you don't have a job, you have to go where you can find one.
Yeah.
And that's how people left. That's how people, professionals, engineers, you name it, left to Australia. They're now in Australia, in Colombia, elsewhere, all over the world.
And so the people that were innovative or creators or entrepreneurs, they essentially left and they took that innovation with them. And then the people that stayed were essentially those that were willing to comply to these changes.
Right.
Or trapped in them.
To the point that they had to wear, you know, certain kind of T-shirt. Like he chose red as a color. So all the public employees will have to wear, you know, the red T-shirt. They couldn't, you know, say anything against anybody. I mean, everybody, it's collectivism taking over individualism. You are no longer free to express yourself and be who you are, or be creative, or want to be more and better. You have to comply, and you have to think and act like everybody else. Otherwise, you'll be punished, fired, you name it.
And so it sounds like, you know, not to make light of it, but the worst micromanaging boss ever societally, right? It's
societally,
everything being controlled from the top down, with individuals not having any say in that. They're essentially being made into robots to essentially press, you know, button 1 or 2, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
And not lightly, because they would go to violence. They will persecute people and take them to jail, or even, you know, many people have been killed.